excites me the most for Historica Arcanum is
There is a vampire on the loose.
most of the cosmology of the Historica Arcanum universe comes from that was
Be quick. What else?
High-level spells. They are already in the Historical Arcanum universe.
the number one spot, got a solid 200 votes lead. Welcome to this video. We have two very significant agendas today. The first one is the future of Historica Arcanum. We're going to be talking about the survey that we recently made at the end of the Era of the Crusades book. We're going to go through all the options, talk about what we feel about each one, and announce which option got the most amount of votes. And second, we're going to be answering some of the questions that you have had for us in the Kickstarter update in our Discord server and below the comment section of the previous video. Hello everyone, welcome back to another Developer Diary from Metis Creative. I'm Sarp.
I'm Doğa.
Today we'll want to talk about the future of Historica Arcanum and the survey we made for you guys.
Alright, let's take a look at the survey results. The votes are in.
Yep. So how I imagine this to go is we talk about each of the options, and in the end we have the grand reveal of which option got the most votes.
Right.
So first up, we have for the first time two distinct product categories. One, the setting guide, and obviously the adventure that comes along with it. Our standard format of 2 books, and this time we have Mega Dungeons. Why does Mega Dungeons interest us?
So the thing is, when we look at the idea of writing a setting book, it's great and it's exciting and stuff, but writing Mega Dungeons are more filtered way of presenting you guys with some options and with some gameplay elements that we are not able to put already on the books that we have written so far. So that's the reason why it excites me the most, because sometimes when you write the book, knowing in your head that it can be a source book that somebody will use in their homebrew setting. But in Mega Dungeons, it's not like that. It's a campaign from start to finish, and it's designed to play as written. So that's the most exciting part for me. I don't know about
Yeah, like the game design really craves to create a 4-walled location that we can design intricately and then implement intense combat scenarios, a lot of puzzles, and a lot of interconnected labyrinthine tunnels, catacombs, and whatnot that can be placed in a condensed sandbox rather than having a full overworld map to explore. And this is obviously to say that I'm in love with the settings and adventures that we created so far for Historic Arcanum, but Mega Dungeons as a new way of presenting what the world of Historic Arcanum can offer is, I think, a good idea.
Yeah, and on the other hand, it's sometimes hard to come up with a concept that will be a coherent story. But when you look at the Mega Dungeons as a thing in its own, it's way more doable. For example, when you think about the pyramids, it's gonna be hard for us to come up with something that hasn't been done yet about the pyramids. But I'm pretty confident that we can do something completely original with the pyramids that if we come up with the Mega Dungeon concept instead of writing a full-fledged setting book.
Yep. I mean, Mega Dungeons are great. A lot of the options there got a lot of votes, but now let's go back to everything that we've written as potential options, starting with the settings. The first one, Age of Renaissance and Mediterranean Pirates, a thriller set in the Venetian Republic and the Pirate Council of Barbarossa. How do you feel about this one?
Alright, it was your favorite?
Yes, this was my favorite.
Yeah, you go on that.
Alright, so Age of Renaissance, the Venetian Republic, and the Barbary Corsairs and the Pirate Republic that actually exists in Algiers. I think this concept really struck a nerve with me because I was a huge fan of Assassin's Creed 2 and the Venetian missions involved in there. Do you remember those?
Yeah, I remember those, but the thing that excites me the most about this setting is the aesthetic.
Yeah,
the stuff
absolutely.
That we can do, visually, the stuff that we can do in this setting is really excites me the most. Since it goes without saying that it is one of the most colorful and
Yeah.
like original way of
Yeah.
representing things visually in like setting guide so far.
Yeah, and one part of the Venetian Republic that excites me the most for Historica Arcanum is there's a lot of like organic story connections between the Venice and Constantinople at the time, coming from the Crusades, coming from the Fourth Crusade and the sacking of Constantinople, the artifacts that was taken from Istanbul, and all of that could be combined into what we said a thriller.
Yeah, and
Yep.
it is great that like every single time when we write a setting guide, like we look for the historical figures that lived in that
Yeah,
era,
absolutely,
like
absolutely.
affected that era. And in this
Absolutely.
one, it's probably gonna be mostly artists
Yeah, artists
instead of like
yeah.
kings and generals
Yeah.
and rulers.
Probably would have the Doge of Venice, potentially from the Barbary Corsair side, the barbarian Janissaries that are allied with the Ottoman Empire, again tying back to Istanbul. This one is great.
Yeah.
Moving on, the quintessential Rome.
Okay, so
Rome. Rome, as we know and love, the assassination of Julius Caesar, and
how
what
often do you think about it?
you know? What's the worst part of creating Historic Arcanum?
No, I don't know.
Not being able to play Historic Arcanum. Can somebody please DM a Historic Arcanum game for me? I prefer it to be set here in the quintessential Rome period. Anyway, there's a lot to say and not much to say, because if you are a Historic Arcanum fan, if you're listening to this, chances are you're a history nerd and a D&D nerd, and it's assassination of Julius Caesar and events that led to it and events that came after it. You probably know it much better than we do.
I'm pretty sure that we gave some examples in Alternate History Toolbox
Yes.
about Rome. So that's how often we think about Rome, at least our writers. It is pretty much the OG.
Yeah, the OG setting to play. It's a
Yeah.
political intrigue.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, next one, the Mongolian
Not much to
invasion.
say about that.
What?
Not much
Yeah.
to say about that. I mean, everything is like in the
Yep.
plain sight.
Mongolian invasion of Japan.
Yeah, I'm really interested in that one because you know, since we can claim some territory in
The Khanate.
since we can claim some territory in the
Yeah,
Mongolian
cultural tendency,
history
yeah.
and stuff, so it is in our playing field that with the cultural authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
And since it was a really popular video game,
Yeah.
The Ghost of Tsushima, I didn't expect it to get that much votes in, but maybe with the influence of Ghost of Tsushima,
Yeah.
maybe when people realized how gorgeous it is to look at those lands and how interesting the characters in that era is, maybe that's why it got one of the highest votes in the
Yep.
survey. I'm really interested in the art style. I'm really interested in the context, because you know, you can tell a very confined story in those, because Japan at the time is very isolated.
Yes.
Like geographically, it is an island to start with.
And the event itself is pretty interesting because a actual natural event stopped Mongolians from outright conquering Japan. I mean, if that thing exists in Historic Arcanum, there's obviously some magic associated with it, and wherever there is magic, there is dark magic, bad stuff happening. So yeah, moving on, something once again very close to our heart. Moving on, something very close to our hearts and minds, and the very first Historic Arcanum's opening, Fall of Troy, a journey into the depths of the Historic Arcanum lore, which we drive mostly from the Bronze Age civilizations. Troy is one of the most quintessential ones out there, and again, Troy existing quite literally some 200 kilometers away from where we live is a very interesting setting in of itself. This thing started history and mythology writing in the world of humanity.
And like, it's one of the best known historical tales in the
absolutely,
universe. I mean,
absolutely.
it is really exciting to discover and explore how the most known story in history happened.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it is a chance that we can like get in our hands and make it our own. There's definitely a possibility that we can integrate this story in the Historical Arcanum universe, and we already talked about stuff.
Yep.
I mean, the first book opens with
With the
Troy
Troy excavation.
Yeah, so when we look at Troy, like I think we can pretty much imagine where we can link the details between the City of Crescent and this tale. I mean,
absolutely.
It is pretty exciting.
One good part about writing in far gone eras is we get to have significantly more creative liberty in what we want to include, what we want to take out, how much magic we want involved. Because as the world of Historic Arcanum progresses through ages, the influence of magic kind of goes into background as humanity, builds its institutions, builds its technology to rival that of the danger of the magic. But the BC eras, in the world of Historic Arcanum is again full of wild magic and wild consequences because of that. And what better way to encapsulate that with the OG myth?
And I don't know if you guys like realize the pattern of the usage of magic throughout the Historic Arcanum universe, because the more you get back, the more high-level spells and like bigger influences of magic that you can see in the Historic Arcanum universe. Because we wanted to create this feeling of we want to create the feeling that you don't get to see magic more often in the later years, because we want to make it feel real. Since you can feel like if we can manage to give that feeling to the player would probably feel like they are already in the Historic Arcanum universe, since there's no magic in our universe right
absolutely,
now.
Absolutely.
We want to create this feeling that it is extinguished throughout the years. So the more you get back on the years, the more high-level spells and like bigger magical influences that you can come across in the Historic Arcanum universe.
Yes. The thing with these microphones, I feel like we're giving a panel talk.
That would be the lamest panel talk. I mean, who would want us?
You'd be surprised, let's say. Is this thing on? I'm sorry. Alright, another setting deeply entwined with Constantinople, City of Crescent. The fall of Constantinople, 1453.
So, like, it should be no surprise that, like, we honestly want to go back to Constantinople. We honestly gonna, we live here. We live in Istanbul. The city excites us the most, I guess, and we all love City of Crescent. We all love what we come up with in our first book.
First lore.
But like, you can imagine that we are getting more professional and in doing what we do, and like we want to revise City of Crescent a lot, because when you go
learned a lot.
When you go back, you can see the details that you missed. You can see the stuff that you can do better. So we want to give Istanbul another chance, and pretty much the whole team is on the same page with this idea.
Honestly, me too. And the next,
we want to do justice to the city.
Exactly. I mean, and the next city, the next setting that is on our list is actually again Istanbul, the Byzantium of Justinian. Constantinopolis, this time set in significantly earlier eras than 1453. Byzantium always had a very deep lore associated with it in the City of Crescent. We had a lot of undead coming back and making a show in the City of Crescent. We have all of the places in the catacombs that are, associated with the City of Crescent. And I think the most fun part was Basilica Cistern and the Undercity having all of important locations, important NPCs associated with the Byzantine Empire that was taken out. And going back in time and seeing those, undead ghosts, ghouls, vampires be present, and not in their, unholy, ungodly form, but in their regular flesh and blood form, I think would make a huge, world building opportunity for us.
Yeah, and like we hinted a lot of things, and we depended on the idea that we would do something related to Byzantine Empire
in the future,
and we wanna honor our promise.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Byzantine, the city, the Constantinopolis of Justinian is a city that has
a lot.
The city is burned to the ground by chariot fans. The city saw plague, the city saw war, the city saw pretty much everything of the Varangian art. It's just so exciting.
And it made an honorable last stand. I mean, like
exactly.
That's the best way that you can
absolutely
go back.
Absolutely. Now moving to the mega dungeons.
Yes, let's go.
The first one. This is really cool. The Hunt for the Lord Impaler.
I mean, again,
you are a group of not just Janissaries, but monster hunters that resides in the Balkans of the 15th century. You are after the Dark Voivoda himself to stop him for the sake of the Sultan, for the sake of the people of Romania, or for the sake of the stability of the human realm, because dark magic conjures bad stuff.
I mean, like, to be honest, this is my favorite, like, among the whole mega dungeons, because I love the promise here.
Yeah, me
There
too.
is a vampire on the loose.
Not just a vampire, the vampire.
Yeah, the OG vampire.
Lord Dracula himself.
And you're gonna get rid of him. Like, that's the best promise that you can give to a D&D player.
Yeah, and obviously you have the backdrop of the Wallachian revolt that is tearing the countryside apart, and Lord Voivoda Vlad is fighting the good fight for the Wallachia, but he's using means that are completely, monstrous. And what do you do when a rebel, even if a rebel that you support acts like that? The castles, the sieges. Obviously, all of this will be condensed into just one final showdown, as this is going to be a mega dungeon. But yeah, this would be really cool.
There is no chance that this can go bad. I mean,
yeah,
this is gonna be fun no matter what, no matter the setting, no matter the players. Like, this is gonna be fun in its own, because the premise is very clear, the concept is very clear, the idea is very clear, and there is just nuances to fit there. And I'm pretty confident that we can do this nuances
a lot of justice. Yeah, absolutely. Next one, the Tower of Babylon crumbles.
I just realized I talk like Trump.
Yeah. It's going to be huge. It's a mega dungeon. We're gonna build a huge wall to keep.
They're gonna trap all the Mexican vampires.
I
don't know if we can put it in the video.
God, no!
The Impaler. Impaler?
You have to tame the Impaler. Yeah, this is the reason why your Historic Arcanum will arrive 1 month late. We will have to recover from this skit. Anyway, the Tower of Babylon crumbles and all the ancient evils are awakened within it.
Okay, wait a second. I mean, like, this is gonna be so hard to talk without spoilers.
Oh yeah. I mean,
with the current book.
Yeah, the Era of the Crusades antagonist's name is Tower of Babylon. See you in the next one. Yeah! Alright, next one. The Tower of Babylon crumbles, and with it, the Eldritch secrets unveil. Why didn't I read it from here?
Unveil? You can go at the end, you fight the boss, and no, it doesn't unveil.
Tower of Babylon. We can't talk about this without giving that many spoilers, because as most of you know, Era of the Crusades antagonist's name is the Whore of Babylon, and I really love the fact that most of the cosmology of the Historic Arcanum universe comes from ancient Mesopotamia.
Yeah, and you already saw some of the hints, like pointing out to Babylon, and like with slight spoilers, you already met one of the characters that come from Mesopotamia, a sister to Whore of Babylon.
Yes.
So we are already. Like building something towards a concept of the Tower of Babylon, but I think this can be one of the like our last pieces of the puzzle in our universe. I mean, we can find, like, if we want to finalize the
have a
universe
conclusion
of Historic Arcanum, or if we can just maybe just release a lore book
that
ties
a
everything
huge
together.
codex. Obviously, Babylon, the Tower of Babylon will be in the center. that's why this one would be really cool.
Yeah, but I think like to be honest, it seems unlikely that we are gonna make it a mega dungeon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like
absolutely.
if we can also make a mega dungeon to this, but we need to answer a couple of questions regarding the lore of Historica Arcanum.
Yeah. Moving
Before we
on.
do that.
Once again, we are back with a very important historical monument being torn to the ground. The Library of Alexandria burns, and with it, secrets of the ancient world goes. I really liked the Baghdad House of Wisdom burning scene at Herald of Rain, which we kind of mixed a lot of magic and other NPCs compared to its traditional Mongolians conquered and burned to the ground real counterparts. But yeah, Library of Alexandria. This one was one of the most popular choices.
Yeah.
What do you like about this concept?
I mean, I love what's at stake here.
Yeah,
because,
knowledge.
Yeah, because like probably you guys all know, it is hard to make the players stressed.
Yeah,
Like it's hard to make them feel something large is at stake.
Absolutely.
This just sets the bar right on.
Absolutely.
I mean, like, you probably know about the historical site, and you probably know about the result. So you're gonna try to change it, obviously.
Yep.
So I love what's at stake here, because we all are, like, as humanity, we would like, if we can go back in time, this is one of the things that we are gonna rescue, right? Here's your chance to go back in time. Here's your chance to rescue, and
here's your chance.
I just love the stakes.
Yeah, and here's your chance to discover what was really in store in Library of Alexandria in the world of Historica Arcanum.
Yeah.
And just to have a small segue here, I love the fact that all Historica Arcanum adventures have its associated MacGuffins as pieces of knowledge rather than, most commonly objects. Because once the party is given a knowledge, and that knowledge has to be super damning, super important, which it is in all the adventures you've written so far, you can't just part away with it. And the fact that makes you a target to a lot of important individuals, powerful mages, powerful faction leaders, and whatnot. So yeah, like I love the knowledge aspect of all our Historic Arcanum works.
And like, I'm gonna take you way back here. When we first started working on Historica Arcanum to Crescent, my background is mostly screenwriting and cinema, and like SARPs is development economy. So when we first started, I want to make like an introduction to story writing with the team at that time. And when I realized that most of the D&D stories are really depend on the MacGuffins, I really want to change that. And the first time and the first MacGuffin that we were working on was sheet music.
Yeah,
do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. Like we wanted to have the MacGuffin to be the sheet music. Then obviously that got scrapped over time.
Yeah, I think the idea was this is a pretty bad idea, but like I just love to talk about it. Like I just love remembering it. The idea was you're gonna find that sheet music. You're gonna make someone play that sheet music, or if there's a part in your part, like you are gonna play that sheet music, and it is gonna take you back in time. To the Silk Road.
Yeah.
And like we're
to have like an interconnected time travel.
And we scrapped that. Obviously, we want all our books to be standalone products.
Yeah.
Like it is gonna reward you if you know the whole the whole story is written in the Historic Arcanum universe, but we just wanted to feel every product in its own as a confined story, so we scrapped that. But that was the first MacGuffin that we worked on. Like this is the trivia knowledge.
This idea that I'm going to talk about right now is scrapped before it even was considered. But when we were talking about the sheet music idea, I immediately thought of some guy who received some sort of a vision, some sort of a MacGuffin, some sort of reality time bending object from the future of today, and that object being a radio or a vinyl player or whatever, that's that painted black. So that painted black. So he was driven Eldritch Man and wanted to paint everything black. Obviously, this idea was scrapped before it was born, but it just made me remember.
It didn't come to me. I mean, how fast it was scrapped.
Last but not least, Tomb of Agamemnon and the Cretan Labyrinth. A team of archaeologists, occultists, and cryptozoologists enter the recently unveiled labyrinth. What awaits within?
I mean, like, first of all, I'm already surprised that there is not much labyrinth in D&D.
Yeah, that is true.
I mean, like the dungeons are pretty much a labyrinth.
Yeah, like the Cretan labyrinth is, I think, where the idea of delving into a dungeon and slaying the beast within originates from. You know, you have the labyrinth, you have the Minotaur, and this is essentially like this is the quintessential D&D experience as it is written in actual mythology.
Like I really like the setting, and I really like the idea behind that, and I'm already invested in the boss fight of this game.
Yeah, absolutely,
like,
absolutely.
But I think there is so much ground that we can explore if we decide to do a dungeon, a labyrinth.
Yeah, absolutely. And one other thing that I really like, that I really want to push forward with like potential future Historic Arcanum series is this. A team of modern characters explore something ancient. Like, I think that's one of the selling point for City of Crescent was for me as its creator, because I really like this contrast of having, you know, people that we can relate very easily to explore something that is very ancient, old, and full of, you know, eldritch corruption of 1,000 years.
And it already gives you a lot of like options in the tone palette, because you know you can either decide to play this as like an Indiana Jones side of
absolutely.
game, or you can really invest in the eldritch corruption theme. You can really go like all fronts with it.
Yep. And honestly, this was this entire series was like a huge challenge for us, because there were around 50 ideas that we went ahead and like shortlisted. And this was the ones that you guys saw. And one thing that we do when we are creating a list like this for us to think about the future of Historic Arcanum is all of these have at least some sort of a lore attached to it that we have in the back of our minds of what we want to do. And I think with that said, what do you guys think got the most votes?
I mean, like, I think we kind of hinted it, but let's see how it goes.
Yep. So the number one spot, obviously, like every single spot except the number one got almost a similar amount of votes, showing that one, we can't decide. Two, all of that have, you know, equal amount of people loving it. But the number one spot got some, like, you know, a solid 200 votes lead, and that was.
Before we go on with that, one disclaimer about the votes: that like we are always listening, we are always caring about what you guys say, but sometimes we use it as a guide as well.
Yeah.
Like we are using these votes to design our future in the Historic Arcanum series. It doesn't mean that it's gonna like instantly gonna become
be the next one.
But we are always taking notes. We are always like writing those source books and writing those setting guides in our schedule. But the times that you come across the book itself may differ. I mean, like that's with that being said.
With that being said, the number one spot was Age of Renaissance, a thriller set in the Venetian Republic with the Barbary Corsairs and the Republic of the Pirates of the Mediterranean. All like this one was the clear winner with 200 votes, and I think for good reason. Though, bear in mind that this was the first selection, so a lot of the skip options could have also gone in
maybe.
here.
Maybe. But I want to believe in that. Like,
I want to believe that this is like because it's a really solid setting.
That's what I would vote for, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, like I would really want to see that. I really want to see the aesthetic. I really want to see the historical sites, artist place, and all the.
I mean, just
all the feeling that
absolutely. Like as I said at the beginning of the discussion, like, you know, Assassin's Creed 2 aesthetic, the carnival aesthetic, the masks.
The masks.
I mean, like, you know, all the cover arts feature some form of masks. So I think this is going to be a really killer one for the next Historica Arcanum setting / adventure. This was the survey section of this video. At the end of every video, we are going to answer a couple of your questions, and this video is just like that. We asked you guys if you had any questions in mind that you want us to explain, discuss in these Developer Diaries, and here they are. The first question that comes from Ren. I would be very interested to hear from you both about how you tackle such a topic as Crusades with care, considering the present-day reverberations. This is a huge topic for almost all the Historica Arcanum settings and adventures that we will ever develop, because history is gruesome. History is filled with blood, hate, and this is sadly the way the world works. And one thing that we don't do is we don't shy away from the bad sides of history. I personally believe that knowing about the horrible parts of the past is a good way of moving forward as a species. And the setting of the Crusades sadly hold a very notorious place in the world of in the history of war crimes. That being said, this is always our go-to approach. We always work with historians and anthropologists that allow us to paint a very accurate picture, taking in the good, especially during the Crusades and especially during the part that we cover. We are putting a very heavy emphasis on the fragile and meticulously crafted peace between Baldwin and Saladin, and celebrate this as a work of deliberate humanity, while also knowing full well that there were some really bad apples that pushed a very darker side of humanity for their own goals.
And like it's important to keep in mind that we are trying to tell a story. We are not trying to say anything related to the current state. We are not trying to say anything
of today.
We are not a history book. Like we are putting history and fantasy together, and we are trying to tell a story. We are trying to paint a picture that you guys would enjoy. So our first priority is to give you guys something entertaining. Our approach to writing setting books are usually historically accurate, but at the end of the day, we are trying to tell a story, and we are always attending it with care. We are working with historians, we are working with sensitivity readers, and we are trying to include everybody's opinion in the books. But like Sarp said, if we don't take our approach, if we shy away from the situation at hand, it wouldn't be our book. I mean, like that wouldn't be our approach. So we are not trying to shy away from anything. We are just trying to paint this gorgeous picture of
the time
of
period,
the history, and we are constantly trying to celebrate all the cultures in the book. So at the end of the day, it's a story. We are trying to say the most dramatic story available. Keep in mind that, but also know that we are attending it with care and sensitivity.
That being said, second question from Mattelford3862. That is the YouTube tag, I believe. He's asking us to shoot a video talking about advice to run Herald of Rain campaign. I don't think a 2-minute answer at this video would cut it. I think we are well in our position to have a very formal developer advice, I guess, talking about all the adventures. We can do one for Herald of Rain, we can do one for City of Crescent, and we can definitely do one for the Sigil of Jerusalem.
But to answer in short,
I
mean, for all the Historical Arcanum books, I really advise anyone to pay the most of the attention to the villain. So if you understand the motives of the villain, if you understand the situation of the villain, it's gonna come really handy throughout the book. It's immensely important to understand the historical structure and historical landscape at the time. It's really important to understand how the cultures worked, how the people interacted with each other at the time. So when you got a clearer picture of the elements that you are working with, since it's a historical fantasy book, they are really important to understand. From that point, it's gonna be way easier if you understand how villain operates throughout the book. He can't say the name, right?
No, we should.
Okay. So if you know his modus operandus throughout the book, it's gonna come really handy. If you know the modus operandus, you are gonna understand each and every step he takes throughout the book, and it's gonna tie right back at the ending.
Moving on from this answer, I believe one of the core aspect that makes Herald of Rain very special is the party is against an order of assassins that don't fight in broad daylight. They fight in shadows, and they fight in whispers, and they fight they fight the knowledge battle rather than the bloodied one. So The way we intended Herald of Rain to be played is to make your players extremely paranoid about who they talk to, who they share their secrets with, and we have added a lot of options to do so. One of the harbingers, one of the core bosses of the game is a shapeshifter. So go wild with it. Make your make your players second guess every interaction they ever will have in the campaign.
And with that being said, like I think the good thing to say here is this concern usually arrives in Call of Cthulhu campaigns.
Yes.
Like, when you as a player, when you realize that everyone can be a cultist, like, after a certain point it gets kind of lame because okay, I'm talking with all these people in the city. Are they all cultists? They might be all cultists, and it's not gonna feel well. But if you populate the city, if you populate your NPCs, if you make your NPCs believable, if you make your NPCs living and breathing throughout the city, it's gonna help you with the paranoia as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like
absolutely.
if you can make some reliable NPCs, and if you can really feel your players, if you really make your players feel connected to them, and they don't turn out to be cultists in this one, assassins, your players are gonna feel way more paranoid because they know that it's a possibility, but it's not always the case.
Yeah. If everyone is shady, then nobody is, because players would just approach everything with 5-foot pole. But if you populate the world with well-lovable characters with their own personalities, then when one or two of those turn out to be members of the Hashashin Order, then that is going to be significantly more impactful than having everybody just acting all weird and definitely.
You're gonna have a moment like
exactly.
Like the most important thing in the indie games are having
moments,
memorable moments. Like if
Absolutely.
you can create those with the betrayals, with the shape-shifting harbinger and stuff, go wild with it. It's gonna be fun.
Yep. The last question by Egrade. Well, thank you so much for congratulating us on the new office. We're still in the process of building, but it's going great so far. And any chance on any lore or adventures around August Khan, Alpertunga, or Akbuzat? These are all very Central Asian, some mythical, some historical figures. I think not for now, because we covered Central Asia very immensely with the Empires of Silk Road books. But a book by our friends at Grim Golem Games is coming out very soon. The PDF is already out. Yep. That takes the mythology of Central Asia rather than the history behind it. There's a significant difference between Historica Arcanum and Wayfarer series there. But you can definitely check that out if you are interested in the Dungeons and Dragons version of the Central Asian myths and legends.
It is beautifully illustrated by a very talented artist, Bartu. And it is a very great book to explore. It kind of serves as an anthology in Turkic myths and legends. So it is really fun to mingle with it. So
and it will be available in our web store in a month or so. Yep. And I guess that is the end of this Developer Diary video.
Alright, again, thank you so much for the questions. Thank you so much for listening, and see you in the next one.
Yep. Bye bye, guys. And always let us know if you have any more questions.
Yep.